This is the Lamson Liquid 9-foot 5-weight outfit, and it's Lamson's newest entry-level outfit. And if you're sitting there wondering whether or not Lamson makes fly rods, the answer is yes, they do. And I'm going to start this review with a little bit of an unboxing so we can go through exactly what you're getting when you buy your new Lamson Liquid outfit. All right, so as you'd expect, you're getting a Lamson Liquid 4-piece rod and a Lamson Liquid reel. Interestingly, they've decided to include a rod and reel case and a neoprene pouch as well. I'm not sure if that's really necessary, but it is a nice touch in case you're not going to use this case in the future. Then we've got a leader, a sort of olive green line that's pre-spooled with backing. And Lamson tells me that this line is made in the USA. When I pull it out and look at it, based on the way it's marked up, I'm going to bet that this is a line made by scientific anglers, which means you're also getting a fairly good fly line with this fairly entry-level outfit. Keep in mind throughout this review that this 9-foot 5-weight outfit, not just the rod, retails for $360 or so. So when you break that down in terms of buying each component separately, we know that the Liquid on its own retails for about $150. An SA line, depending on the type of SA line, is going to retail for somewhere in the $50 to $80 range. This is not a textured line, so you're definitely not getting a premium amplitude line with this outfit. And that's going to imply that this rod, which I don't believe is available separately, comes in at about $150. So while you can't actually buy this rod for $150, that's sort of the value and the price point that we're going to be comparing it to. And if you haven't already watched my review on the new Lamson Liquid S, you should go check that out. This is a really fantastic entry-level reel and definitely one of the best out there at this price point. So now that we know what comes with this, let's start this review like we always do by walking you through some of the features and components on this rod, starting at the bottom. And starting with the reel seat here, we've got a fairly nice reel seat. Interestingly, it's got sort of an extended cap, like they were trying to prevent you from unscrewing it completely, but really preventing you. Overall, it appears to be an anodized aluminum reel seat, and it's pretty nice. Definitely no complaints there. Then as we move up, we've got sort of a riff on the snub-nosed half-wells grip. This is a different grip than you'll see on some other Lamson rod models like the Guru and the Radius. It's definitely got more of a bulge here in the middle. And of course, you'll notice the composite cork on the bottom and the top. It definitely has less of a premium feel than, say, the Radius. Then we've got a hook keeper, which is pretty much a hook keeper. It does look a little bit smaller than standard though, for what that's worth. Then we've got sort of this partially unsanded blank. Overall, I think it looks pretty nice. Frankly, it looks a lot like the Atlas blank, which I also think looks pretty nice. Then as we move up, you'll notice that they've skipped the alignment dots, which is mostly to be expected at this price point. And in terms of components, they're pretty basic, which is kind of what you'd expect at this price point. In fact, Lamson doesn't really give us any information about these guides, but I think it's safe to conclude that we're not getting titanium guides here. And we've got pretty standard snake guides going up the rest of the way. Overall, this is a fairly standard overseas build, and with the exception of sort of price point componentry, this is a pretty nice looking rod, and definitely a really nice looking rod for the price point. But now let's take it out in the field and see how it casts. This review is brought to you by Trident Travel, which is our new destination travel service where you'll get our expert advice, planning, and guidance at no additional cost. That means no credit card fees, no booking fees, and for a limited time, you'll even earn Trident rewards on your travel bookings. So with every trip you book, you'll be earning valuable points that you can use towards free tackle here at Trident. Recently, we've had some clients go on some absolutely fantastic trips like permit fishing in Belize, Atlantic salmon fishing in New Brunswick, and trout fishing in Alaska. So if you're thinking about taking a fly fishing trip, Trident Travel is the way to do it. We've got a ton of great destinations, excellent service, and even more destinations being added every month. Check us out at tridentflyfishing.com/travel. So casting the 9-foot 5-weight Lamson Liquid outfit. right away you can tell it is a very interesting rod. And it pairs really well with the line they've got on there. And the line, according to the Lamson website, is a US-made fly line, which, let's face it, means it's made by either SA or Rio. And if I were guessing, based on the way the lettering is set up on the line, it's SA. So you're getting an SA line on a very entry-level outfit, which is great. It's also a heavily weight-forward line. So think Titan, Titan Long, Outbound Short, Rio Grande. That is going to be the style of line that you're getting on this outfit. And I think it's an interesting choice because if you're a beginner, having a line that's easy to cast and loads well just makes a ton of sense. On the other hand, if you're marketing an outfit to the intermediate and advanced crowd, something like a Titan taper on a 9-foot 5-weight starts to make less and less sense. But here's what I can tell you. On the Lamson outfit, it really casts quite well. The tip tracks really well. It definitely doesn't feel overloaded on the rod at all, which can be a problem sometimes when you're taking a heavy line and putting it on a rod that's not designed for it. This is definitely a pair that is designed and in fact does work really well together. Now, I don't know if you'll ever even be able to buy the Lamson line separately, but let's face it, you're probably not going to do that anyway. Now, let's bring it back to the rod, and the rod is good. And it casts well, like I said, with that line. It is a pair that was very clearly and intentionally designed for one another. Starting at 30 feet, you've got a rod that loads well. This is a very heavy weight-forward line, and as you'd expect, it loads well even on a rod that is fairly quick at that short distance. Now, the downside to these shooting head style lines is that you can't aerialize a lot of line. And that's going to come into play if you're trying to make those long 60-foot casts to rising fish. When you need to make one shot that really counts, you tend to make a few false casts. This rod and line pairing is more of a one false cast and let it rip style of line. It's even a great parking lot rod because I was able to cast the entire length of the line fairly easily. As we move back to that 45-foot distance, one thing that becomes really clear is that the rod is still very accurate. But because of that short head, distance control starts to become a little bit tougher. That's probably the one downside, I'd say, with this outfit versus something like fishing an MPX or a Rio Gold. You just don't have that precise control with your distance because it just wants to fly out, which is great if you're fishing for bass, but if you're in a technical trout situation, not quite what you're looking for. If you're a beginner and you're just trying to figure out how to cast, this is going to give you a lot of confidence and frankly let you make casts that are way longer than you'd normally be able to make. I think it's a good thing overall. And again, very accurate. As we move back, you guessed it, we're getting a lot more of the same. If you want to make a 60-foot cast with this rod, it's really easy. You just can't aerialize a lot of line. If you're aerializing too much, you're going to start to get some sloppiness and some tailing loops. It's just not designed to have that running line too far out of the tip. If you do it, you're not going to like it. However, if you're willing to make a shorter false cast, 2 false casts, and then really punch it, you're going to get great distance. And like I said, it is quite easy to cast the entire fly line on this outfit, which for an entry-level setup is pretty good. Overall, I'm really impressed with this outfit. When you think about this as a breakdown, you're talking about a $150 reel, let's call it $50 to $80 line, and $120 to $150 rod. And when you think about it in those terms, you've got a really great casting rod that will work very well for a lot of people. But don't try to take it into those technical situations. And frankly, if you're into dry fly fishing, this is probably not going to be the best setup unless you're really, really struggling for those long distance casts. So after casting the new Liquid outfit, I'm honestly fairly impressed. If you're looking for a really, truly entry-level rod, reel, and line setup, this one is really good. And while we haven't done a ton of reviews for basic outfits like this, I can tell you that you can do a lot worse than this at any price point. I think what appeals most to me about this is that it just really, really works well together. And I think that's one thing that other outfits have always lacked. Traditionally, you've got a rod that's been designed as a rod to work independently. And this rod, on the other hand, has been designed to work specifically with this line and reel. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And while I think the choice of line is a really, really smart one for the beginning angler, I do think there are some people out there, especially those people who are looking to only fish dry flies to rising fish, that are probably going to find that this isn't the right line for them. But that leaves a nice chunk of 80% of the population that this should work reasonably well for. Overall, definitely impressed with this package from Lamson. And if you're looking to either get into fly fishing or to get into a setup that's really gonna make your casting a lot better than it actually is, this is a great place to start. And now it's time to give the Liquid rod a Poseidon score. Up first is accuracy, and the Liquid is quite an accurate rod when paired with the Liquid line. I found it to be really, really good, especially on the tracking. The downside is that, of course, when you're fishing a shooting head type line like this, you're gonna have a little bit more trouble gauging distance. And because of that, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Up next is components, and the components are nice on this rod, but definitely on the more basic end, and it earns a 7.5. In terms of distance and power, while this rod can definitely chuck line a long way, I'm a little bit leery of giving it a really high score because, again, of that shooting taper. It's also a fast and fairly stiff rod that is, of course, designed for that line. If you were to put a different line, like say an MPX on it, would it still be good? I'm not quite sure. Overall, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Up next is grip, and the grip on this is totally fine. While it does look a little bit funky, I actually like this grip better than the grip on the Guru, which is just a little bit too thin for my liking. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. In terms of looks and workmanship, this is definitely not the prettiest rod, but it's also not the ugliest rod by a long shot, and I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. The swing weight on this rod comes in at 68 gram meters squared, which is about in line with the lighter value-based rods like the Douglas era. Overall, it's sort of a middle to higher end of the road swing weight, and in today's game, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. Up next is value, and I think this Liquid outfit represents a tremendous value for the $360 price point. Again, that implies a rod that comes in at about 150 bucks, and I think this rod is really pretty good for that price point. And it's especially good when you pair it with that Liquid line, and of course, the Liquid S is a fantastic reel that we've already talked about. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10 for value. And last but not least is the cool factor, and let's face it, Lamson rods are not that cool. That said, people do like the Liquid, and maybe that'll give you a little bit of buzz. Let's say 7 out of 10. And that gives us a total Poseidon score of 64.5, which is frankly really good for a rod that costs this little. It's definitely not an ultra high performance rod. This is a value rod. It's a rod that's designed for beginners, and 64.5 is really fantastic for that market. Overall, I think this outfit is one of the better packages out there, and if you're getting into the sport, or if you're trying to elevate your casting the easy way by buying something instead of practicing, this is the outfit for you. Tell us what you think about this Liquid outfit by leaving us a comment in the box below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel because it really helps us out, and we've got lots of great rod reviews coming right up. And if you have questions about this outfit, give us a call at 888-413-5211, or email us 24/7 at support@tridentflyfishing.com. I'm Ben. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.